$1 billion. That, my friends, is a lot of money. God, just think about what you could do with such sweet, sweet wallet lettuce. Go on, I'll give you a minute. No, I'm not just stalling for time to hit that 10-minute ad revenue sweet spot. Seriously, think about it. You could take your family on holiday wherever you wanted, purchase everything you've desired, bribe every official to make Buckfast Abbey tonic wine available in every pub up and down the country. Hell, you could even, and I hope that you would, be a nice person and help out others in need. Right, well that was a nice dream, wasn't it? Well, I hate to wake you from this monetary moment because we are going to talk about billions of dollars, but it ain't going to be ours because the films on this list will be the only ones raking in the green while the rest of us have to rake lawns in the summer for £5 a pop. So with this sad statement in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 upcoming movies that will make $1 billion. Number 10, Jumanji 2. Despite the initial reluctance from fans when it was announced that Jumanji was effectively being remade, in fact it really wasn't, the success of the sort of reboot inspired the announcement of an entirely predictable sequel. Little is known about its substance so far, though rumours have suggested that it might explore the origins of the game, with the principal cast returning and Jake Kasdan directing once more. The return of the talent alone should inspire a good response. Not only can Jumanji 2, or 3 as it technically should be called, count on the almighty marketing power of The Rock, but Welcome to the Jungle managed to pull in $962.1 million globally and has grown in appreciation since its initial theatrical run. At the minute, its release sits between Frozen 2 and Star Wars Episode 9, so that might change, but it's definitely in with a huge chance. Number 9, Toy Story 4. It's been a long time coming, and it might look a little like an overextension to some more cynical fans, but Toy Story 4 is coming and is already one of the most hotly anticipated Pixar sequels ever. All we know so far is that the plot follows an attempt to find Bo Peep after she was given away before Toy Story 3 kicked off, with the cast returning and, no doubt, all the same concerns about morality and abandonment thrown in. Toy Story is still Pixar's flagship franchise, and with Toy Story 3 making $1 billion and the other two recent big sequels, Incredibles 2 and Finding Dory, both proving that belated sequels can also make fat stacks, it all looks pretty good. There's no way any fan of the franchise won't come out to see it, and given how much merch Toy Story still sells, it's fairly obvious why Pixar are making it. Oh yes, kids, it's not about childhood memories anymore at the end of the day, it's about cold hard cash, and this film gonna make a lot of it. Number 8, Frozen 2. 6 years after the first Frozen became the highest grossing animated movie ever, Anna and Elsa will return to the big screen, no doubt with Olaf, Sven and Kristoff in tow as well. Interestingly though, director Jennifer Lee, now also the head of Disney's animation studio, said that they weren't actually going to make a sequel originally, but then they discovered an unexplored aspect of the story that they could form a basis of a new tale from, so they changed their minds. A hidden aspect? I wonder if it's going to be something to do with those trolls that were there for like little to no reason. I mean, I know why they were there, but then they just disappeared. Here's hoping, right? Right? I mean, tell me more about the trolls. God, I swear I feel like Charlie from Always Sunny talking about Pepe Sylvia right now. There's been no official word of what the unexplored aspect is just yet. Trolls, it's going to be trolls. But we do know that the cast is set to expand with both Evan Rachel Wood and Sterling K. Brown in talks to join. Like Cars for Pixar, Frozen became a behemoth merchandise seller for Disney, so the company would have found a way of expanding the property even without a sequel. And now they've got one, well, they can pretty much bank on another record-breaking box office haul and even more toy sales. And if they can release an earworm even half as gripping as Let It Go, they'll be on for an even bigger draw. Number 7, The Batman. So far, The Batman is a project somewhat shrouded in mystery and somewhat tainted by endless production setback stories and uncertainty around Ben Affleck's involvement, but if played right, it could be the opportunity for Warner Brothers to relaunch The Dark Knight once more. Matt Reeves is involved and is promising a very point-of-view, noir-driven, definitive Batman story that is heavily drawn from the comics. If his work on Planet of the Apes is anything to go by, we'll get great storytelling, heavy character focus, and a conscious attempt to reclaim the brand for fans. Or at least, that's what we're hoping. Given the DCEU's struggles, this prediction might seem a little unlikely, but you have to think about the fans' faith in the Batman brand and the implicit promise of rescuing the character from the doldrums. Reeves has an opportunity to clean slate Batman just like Christopher Nolan did, and much like your mum announcing that she's going to return for What's in My Anus 6, this should get hardcore fans very excited. There's my one per list. Number 6, Star Wars Episode 9. The third part of the sequel trilogy might have to contend with some fan backlash after The Last Jedi and a slight drop in brand confidence after Solo, but it remains one of the biggest blockbusters coming in 2019. The story will presumably focus more on Kylo Ren's rising evil, while also returning to the story of Rey's parentage, the Knights of Ren, and the last of the Rebellion's attempts to take out the First Order. Regardless of the ridiculous threats to boycott it, Episode 9 can still count on the enduring power of the Star Wars banner with mainstream audiences. And Lucasfilm can count on hardcore fans who they just need to see every Star Wars film. It's also not entirely fair to compare Episode 9 to the disappointment that was Solo, not least because it will actually be marketed ahead of its release, and it will be a major shock if it doesn't outdo The Last Jedi at the box office. Number 5. Black Panther 2. Following on from T'Challa's debut and the removal of Wakanda's borders, we'll be heading back to the African kingdom in Phase 4, so one can therefore assume that the king will have just shaken off that whole being dead thing. Ryan Coogler is back, and there have been some rumours of Michael B. Jordan somehow returning, along with possible new cast member Donald Glover, but the only thing that we've heard about the plot is what Coogler has said. T'Challa would grow as a king in future films, since his reign only began recently in the MCU, while in the comics, he's been a king since childhood. Black Panther has the kind of committed community behind it to suggest that the sequel will perform just as well as the first movie. It will undoubtedly inspire the same kind of fan response, which is Marvel's most valuable marketing community. It would be nice to say that Captain Marvel would also join Black Panther as a billion-dollar prospect, and it deserves to be given its importance, but for now, to state that is still a bit much of a gamble. Number 4. Minions 2. Now, whatever you think about these very annoying raving Rabbids clones, the first prequel to Despicable Me did, bizarrely, infuriatingly well. However, the end of that film seemingly left little direction to go since they, met Gru, but it seems that Universal still see more in the prequel timeline, so another film is being made. Expect the same sorts of nonsensical attempts at humour and fascination with bananas and bottoms, no doubt. I'm sure that the kids and the likes of Ash Millman will love it because it requires very little brain activity to be amused by moving shapes and colours. Whether you agree with it or not, the Despicable Me franchise, including its Minions spin-off, is absolutely solid gold when it comes to box office returns, and it's likely to make a disgusting amount of money pretty soon. Number 3. The Lion King. Continuing Disney's current fascination with live-action remakes, Jon Favreau's The Lion King will roar into cinemas in 2019 with a pretty stunning cast. Donald Glover will play Simba, James Earl Jones returns as Mufasa, and the likes of Beyoncé, Keegan-Michael Key, and Seth Rogen are also involved. The film will follow the same trend of the likes of Cinderella, The Jungle Book, and Beauty and the Beast by taking some elements of the animated original and mixing it with new sections to make it feel fresh, or bastardized if you're in the mindset of why are they redoing these. The Jungle Book may have missed $1 billion by a panther's hair, but Beauty and the Beast got there, and The Lion King is more on that sort of level of fan awareness. The cast will guarantee a big response in itself, and the original animation almost took $1 billion itself, so there's very, very good chance that it will take $1 billion here. Number 2. The Fast and the Furious 9. Next up for the Fast and Furious franchise, we have the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off before Dom Toretto's team return for further capers in the 9th film in the main series. Expect even more talented actors to join the cast, even zanier stunts, and a whole lot of mentions of the word family.
You never should have messed with a man's family.
Family.
Given Universal's tendency to inject more muscle with each chapter and the promise of Jordana Brewster's return, it won't just be more of the same. Not that that would disappoint fans at all, seeing as we've thrown any care for story out of the window. Just give us more scenes of flying cars and betrayals of physics, please. After Paul Walker's death, the Fast and Furious franchise went platinum, adding an emotional selling point to an already successful property. And with heavyweights like Vin Diesel, Jason Statham, and The Rock behind it, there is no way that's going to change. The franchise is almost now completely critic-proof, and with an ending of the main series in sight, as the 10th is meant to be the finale, there's even more reason for fans to get on board this hyped-up muscle car, train car, tank car. And number 1, Avengers 4. I mean, come on, this was pretty obvious, right? It's quite possibly the most hyped comic book movie of all time, and it's going to land in full extended leg hero pose in spring 2019. Taking up the story of the Infinity Saga after Thanos' snap wiped out half of existence, there are huge stakes going into this film thanks to the latter. If you went and saw Infinity War, you are going to be seeing this one. With the promise of even more emotional devastation and the intrigue of the snap's aftermath, there's already a lot of investment in this sequel. sequel, which will continue to gather pace until it's released. Infinity War made more than $2 billion at the box office. The story is only half told, and everyone who flocked to see Infinity War in cinemas will do so again to see where the story goes next and how it ends. On top of that, we've got the promise of this being the last MCU film for some veterans too, which gives another selling point. In fact, if this doesn't make $2 billion, it will be one of the biggest box office shocks of all time. So yeah, roll on 2019.